did some injuries on themselves from their nomination process,
Yes.
number one. Number two, some of the people who were very closely involved in that campaign, who left it and some who stayed to the very end, have since published in various media some of the internal problems with how that campaign was run. I mean, that's not to say that there haven't been some exposure or expose on the TNA side as well, and we see that they've had to, at the last minute now, or almost the last minute, change their view about when their party election should be held, but leaving TNA out of it for the moment. I think the critical issue here is how we define democracy within a party. Remember that these parties in Kenya, all of them are minority in the sense that none of them, whatever company does the research, nobody has got more than 50% support, leaving aside the question of membership. So in order to have any chance of capturing power, you're going to have to get what we can call the uncommitted, the undecided, whatever they are in the electorate.
Yeah.
And that means when you choose your leadership, and when your leadership focuses on policies moving forward, they have to make sure that they don't spend so much attention pleasing or catering to the already converted. They have to go out there and be popular enough. This is the problem, for example, that the right-wing faction of the Republican Party in the U.S. is having with the Tea Party, who are totally against government involvement in the economy. They've got such fervor within that small segment of the party, they've driven it so far to the right. That's the only reason that Obama was able to win the last election, because he left the middle ground open for the Democrats in a more moderate way to capture. So at the same time as ODM now is determined to have internally democratic elections, they have to make sure that they come up at the end of the day, by whatever method they use, with a face of the party which is regional enough, which is gender sensitive enough, marginalized, sensitive enough in terms of not only the party constitution, but the national constitution of the country, so that they have a face which has an open door, which is welcoming to others looking forward to the next election, rather than just satisfying the hardcore who are loyalists already. So there's this balancing act and that has to be done.
Right.
And this raises the question, if the leadership, whether it's Raila as an individual or a few people around him, come in from the top and say, delegates, we know what you want, but that's not going to get us anywhere close to a victory in 2017, and therefore we have to impose something for the benefit of our party in the longer term that may be a violation of democracy with a small d, but in terms of capturing power, it might be necessary to some extent. They have to make these calculations.
Okay. You want to add something, sir?
No, I think the question was whether Raila has lost the influence. I think to a large extent you'd say yes, because not losing influence in the fact that he's lost grip of the party. What has happened is that there's a realization among party leaders that what has transpired in previous nominations really has hurt the party.
Right.
And everybody understands that the biggest challenge that ODM had before the last election was the fact that they bungled their nominations, and nobody is willing to go that route again. Now, when Raila came out and said, well, we want a party that has a national face, I think he was right in doing that. Now, how that is going to be achieved is what he did not define. Now, what has happened is that we now have the Namwamba group coming up with membership, with contestants that actually represents that national face. So how are you going to tell them now, you're not the ones, these are the ones? So what is happening is that the party realizes that it must, and there's no other way, it must now put in place internal system that will allow for more popular candidates to take leadership of the party.
When Namwamba was here last week, I asked him whether if he loses, he will accept that he has lost, the election was democratic.
Good question.
If, he also used the word if, because are you not sure that there is going to be a democratic election? He was not sure about that. And one of the issues being raised is that the people who bank on the nominations are part of the people who are now managing this election today at Kasarani. So the question is, are you being democratic, or are you going to dictate a tribe? Like you said, these are the people who want, because we want to take to 2017.
You know, if is brought about by the fact that even up to now, the delegates are not even sure which system they're going to use. I mean, democracy doesn't work like that. Democracy means that you go out there knowing that this is what we are going to do. These are the rules that we are going to use. Now, what has happened is that even the party secretariat itself, even the party top organs themselves are not so sure, because they're saying we're going to use secret balloting, and then at the same time, but the constitution allows the delegates to change that. Change it to what? I think what we must accept, that ODM must accept, is that the party must not only be democratic in its election, but must be seen by everybody. But as it were, even the contestants themselves are not so sure that this is going to be a democratic process.
If there was going to be secret ballot, would there not be voting? You know, there will be facilitated that the
papers would be printed, the boxes would be there.
I think they would have been already printed now. We haven't heard about that.
I think they are there because, I mean, we had Magarel Langat saying everything has been put in place and the systems are all, you know, set.
But David, there are test runs even in national elections. people are shown that this is what
symptoms of a party that is not willing to yield to democracy. Okay, let me ask this. Of course, all the parties positions are contested, but it's a formality for the party leader. I mean, there's Arati, I think, running against Raila Odinga for party leader, and I think Aburi also was running. But it's a foregone conclusion that this position belongs to Raila Odinga. Can ODM actually survive as a party without Raila?
At the moment, I don't think so, but I think I'm not sure where your question is coming from.
If Raila decided that he's not in the race for 2017, would ODM exist?
If Raila announced, whether today or in a year from now or 2 years, that he had decided for whatever reasons to retire, as 1/3 of the Kenyan public is suggesting that he do,
He should,
and even 1/3 of his party in our last poll said that while he should not retire, he himself should not contest the presidency, then I think there would be a major vacuum at the top, and I think that's one of the reasons that this particular party election is so hotly contested, because, and that's the other side of your coin about him having lost influence. And with regard to that, if I can just make one other comment, there's two key issues involved here, I think. One is the foundation for almost any activity of human nature, and that's money. Because in addition to control of the money allocated by the Political Parties Act fund, there's the question of the individual wealth of particular leaders or officials in the party. In order to keep the party, especially now that it's out of power, whatever number of governorships or counties it controls at the national level, in order to keep interest in the party, develop membership, activities, momentum, and so on leading up to the next election, these activities cost money. And therefore, having regional leaders, especially if they are officials of the party, who have deep pockets to fund these activities is extremely important. But it also means the extent to which such regional leaders have their independent funds weakens the control of the formal leader at the top in terms of what direction that party goes, and especially the issue that Ceasar mentioned. What is its relationship with the executive, with State House, and with the dominant coalition in the National Assembly and the Senate? And that leads to my final point, and that is, we didn't ask this question in our last survey, and if you did, Ceasar, you tell me your answer, but I think based on this discussion we have to put it in. And that is to ask Kenyans, whatever party they're aligned to, whatever party you're aligned to, what would you say is the main difference between TNA and ODM in terms of policy? And I think many Kenyans...
Of course, that's a very complex academic question.
No, it's not.
That will not attract straight answers.
It's not. Because if these parties are going to be anything more than just ethnic alliances...
Well, the difference from the last poll, Tom, according to me, is that ODM was old and TNA was young. That is how perhaps the public would perceive that. But
that-
anything
that is
deeper
a-
than that,
Yeah.
to extract answers would be very complex.
Is that a
research
basis for organizing a party to compete in the next election? If you can't, I mean, we've had many issues that are going, we've had